Welcome back to Database session. I hope you are doing very well. In this video, we will learn about trigger in Azure Data Factory along with a demo using an event trigger to run a pipeline that copy data from blob storage to an Azure database. We have already covered how to design pipeline to copy data from blob storage to database in previous video, which are available in Azure Data Factory playlist in my channel. So before we begin, I kindly request you to subscribe the channel and like this video. If you have any question regarding Azure Data Factory, feel free to ask in comment box. I will ensure your question are answered. Now let's get started with trigger. Data Factory provides the scheduling ability using trigger. You can create trigger and attach them to pipeline so that pipeline are executed as specified in trigger. There are three types of trigger in Azure Data Factory: schedule trigger, tumbling window trigger, and event trigger. Event trigger also two types: storage event trigger and a custom event trigger. So let's have a look at each of them in brief. So let's have a look at first schedule trigger. Schedule trigger are basically scheduled to run on a calendar. Scheduled trigger support periodic and advanced calendar option. Its support trigger to pipeline is many to many. It means you can attach all your pipeline to one trigger. Similarly, you can attach same pipeline more than one trigger. It can only be scheduled for future time to start. The next trigger is tumbling window trigger. Tumbling window trigger are a type of trigger that fire at a periodic time interval from specified start time while retaining state. Tumbling window are a series of fixed size and non-overlapping continuous time interval. It can be scheduled for past window and slice. Its support trigger to pipeline is one-to-one, means one trigger attached to one pipeline only. The last trigger is event-based trigger. It is two types: storage event trigger and custom event trigger. Event-based trigger run pipeline in response to an event. Event can be creation and deletion of blob or file. Event-based trigger support pipeline is many to many. It means you can have many pipeline attached to one trigger and vice versa. So that is the brief explanation about three types of trigger. Hope that given you understanding about types of trigger available within Data Factory and their uses. So let's go to Data Factory and see demonstration about trigger. Now I am in the home page of Azure Data Factory. To create trigger, go to here Manage tab. Click on this trigger in Other section. To create trigger, you can click on this plus icon button, or you can also click on this create trigger to create new trigger. So this is the name of trigger. You can type here name of trigger and you can see here the types of trigger available in this Azure Data Factory: schedule trigger, tumbling window trigger, storage event trigger, and custom event trigger. So let's see first how to create schedule trigger, and you can choose here schedule trigger and write here appropriate schedule trigger name. I encourage you to write some description for trigger and choose your appropriate start time. For example, I am choosing here 30 August. Choose your appropriate time and time zone. This is my time zone. You choose your appropriate time zone available in your country as per work. And this is the reoccurrence. Here 15 minutes. If you want to choose every hour, you can type here every one. And for example, I am choosing, you can see here reoccurrence day, week and month. Every week, every day, every month. You can choose here reoccurrence. For example, I am choosing day, every day. You can type here and 10:30. You can write here 10:30. So it's run every day at 10:30. Okay. You can also type here 11 and this is 11:30. Okay. So I am unchecking this, and you can specify the end date of this trigger. Okay. For example, I am choosing September 30. Okay. So you can specify end date of trigger. I am unchecking for now and click on this start trigger on creation, or you can uncheck this and you can also start using this button. Okay. To start trigger, and you can check this to stop trigger. For now, I am deleting this schedule trigger. I want to create event based trigger. So delete this. Again, click on this plus icon. So I want to create here event trigger. So let's learn first. Also see tumbling window trigger. So you can see here start date. This is the start date of trigger. You can choose any start date. For example, 27th August. And you can see here reoccurrence every 15 minutes every hour or month. You can choose here reoccurrence, and you can see here the specify and date and advanced option. In thumbnail window trigger delay, you can choose 15 second. For example, maximum concurrency, you can choose here 50. Retry count, you can type here 1 for example, and retry policy in interval in 30 seconds, and on creation start trigger. Okay, so I am cancelling this, and I am choosing here types of trigger is event based trigger, because I want to create event based trigger to run pipeline while file loaded into container. So choose your Azure subscription. From Azure subscription, I am choosing pay as you go. Choose appropriate subscription. If you have any trial, choose your trial account subscription. I am choosing SA Data World. This is my storage account name. Container, choose appropriate container. I am choosing trigger data source. If in this container file loaded, then this event based trigger fired, and blob path I am leaving it, and event is blob created. If you want to choose blob deletion, you can also check this. I am checking this blob created. Ignore empty blob, yes, and start trigger on creation. Check this and click on this. Click OK. You can see here the registered Azure event grid resource provider to your subscription before creating to event trigger. So we need to register this event grid. So go to here Azure portal, click on this subscription, or you can also search here subscription. Click on this subscription name, go to here setting, and go to here resource provider, click on this and search here event grid, and check this and click on this register to register this event grid to create event grid trigger. So it's take around 1 to 2 minutes to register this. So let's wait. You can see here. Okay, so subscription registered, resource provider is registering. So let's wait. You can see here the status. So after around 1 to 2 minutes, its subscription registered resource provider is successful, and it's now registered event grid. So now let's go to Azure Data Factory, and now click on this continue button to create event grid trigger. So this is now event grid trigger is created. Type is storage event and strategy is started. You can check this to stop this trigger, or again click on this to start trigger. So I want to attach this trigger to pipeline. So go to here author tab. We already create pipeline. So click on this. We already create here copy data pipeline, which copy data from blob storage to Azure database. You can see here this is the customer data set. You can click on this customer data set. Let's see first. You can see here link service Azure blob storage, and this is the schema. Okay, and it's copy in Azure SQL in customer table. So let's go to, and after completion, after this copy activity, sync to Azure SQL file will be deleted using delete activity. Okay, and it's insert into Azure SQL customer table. Okay, so let's click on this add trigger to attach this trigger. Click on this new, choose trigger. This is my trigger name only, and click on this continue and continue. Okay, publish. Okay, so let's wait for publishing. Deploy mode in progress. So publishing completed. Now let's go to Azure SQL database. Click on this table, and you can see here select star from customer. There is table. So let's delete this record. Delete from customer table. Select this and run this. Okay, so you can see here there is no record in this table. So I am going to storage account. Click on this container. my trigger available in this container. So if I load file in this container, then trigger should be fired. So browse, I want to load this customer file to this container, upload. So here is file loaded, and you can see here it should run. If I go to here monitor tab, then it should be run. So here event is created, you can see here in progress. So let's refresh this. It's still in progress because I loaded file into container which created trigger. After 32 seconds, this copy data activity pipeline is successfully run. So if you go to here trigger, you can see event based trigger is run. Trigger type is storage event trigger and run at 4:44. Here is 4:45 p.m. So succeeded. And now go to here demo database. You can see here data available in this table. Okay. Again, for example, go to here container. If I refresh this, you can see here file is deleted because we add here, go to here other tab, we add here delete activity. So for example, again I want to load this file again, then it should be trigger again. Okay, so go to here and load again, and you can see here this file or trigger fired again. So go to here Azure Data Factory, go to here monitor tab, and if I refresh this, then you can see, if I go to here pipeline, you can see this pipeline is again in progress at 4:46. Okay, so if this is the event based trigger, you can see here the history of execution of pipeline. If you want to filter, you can see here last 7 day, last 30 day, and you can also choose custom. Okay, so for example I am choosing last 7 day and click on this to see history of pipeline. Okay, so after 48 seconds it's still in progress. Okay, so you can also see the history of event based trigger. You can also see schedule, tumbling window, or storage event trigger. So it's only see here storage event trigger. You can see if any schedule trigger run, you can see here the history of schedule trigger. You can see here tumbling window trigger and custom event trigger. Okay, so let's go to here, and you can see here this trigger is fired at 4:46 when file loaded. Okay, and pipeline is now succeeded at 1 minute 8 seconds. So if I go to here, and if you want to count this record, you can type here 1 and run this. You can see here 784 records. Okay, so that's all about in this video. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe the channel and like this video. I want to see you in another video. Thank you.